free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Power of Music Thinking. My name is Christoph Zürn, and this is the podcast for people with a musical heart and a wicked job. We're looking for stories, insights and tools from the big world of music to inspire leaders and followers to listen, tune, play and perform in whatever field you're operating. Welcome to another episode of the Power of Music Thinking podcast. For more episodes and to support the podcast, go to musicthinking.com, buy the book, The Power of Music Thinking, the Music Thinking Jam Cards, or give us a follow, like, or comment. And stay tuned, because this is the last episode before the summer break. I will do a trip to Japan, do some field recordings and search for stories around the beautiful Japanese instrument, the shakuhachi. So hit the subscribe button now to never miss an episode. Our guest today is both an accomplished musician and a fascinating researcher, Dr. Sandra Garrido, is a pianist and violinist who holds a PhD combining the worlds of music and psychology. Her work focuses on a question that touches all of us. How can music regulate our mood and improve our mental well-being? What's truly unique is that she explores this not just today, but through a historical lens, uncovering how we've always used music to feel better. In our conversation, Sandra gives us fascinating insights into the paradoxical appeal of sad music. We talked about why the same Adele song might make one person feel comforted while sending another into a negative loop. Sandra also shares how music can be a powerful tool for young people with depression and its surprising role in dementia care, making this a conversation you won't want to miss. Hello, Sandra. Welcome to the Power of Music Thinking.
Hi, Christoph. Thanks for having me.
What was your first memorable sonic experience or album or concert that had an impact on you?
Wow. That's hard to say because I grew up in a family where music was around us all the time. Car trips, singing along with my dad in the car to our favorite albums at the time. I can remember them taking me to see Pirates of Penzance at the Sydney Opera House when I was very young, probably about 4 or 5 years old. But one experience, I guess, that really came clearly to mind. I had been learning the piano for many years and was probably quite enjoying it, but wasn't really all that excited about it and not putting too much work into it. But then I remember we were somewhere in Scotland in a big shopping centre, and there was a grand piano at the bottom of the shopping centre, a multi-level shopping centre. And I was upstairs and somebody sat down to play Debussy's Clair de Lune. And just the magic that floated through, the acoustics of that shopping centre. And I can remember just being mesmerised by that and thinking, I know how to play that song. Why does it never sound that beautiful when I play it? And I think that really, just gave me a glimpse of the beauty and the meaning that you can put into music, which I maybe wasn't getting from my little kind of, weekly piano lessons that I was having at the time. So that really motivated me to start putting a little bit more effort into music, I think.
Oh, that's beautiful. Also, it's beautiful because you wouldn't expect in a shopping center to get this kind of, let's say, epiphany or however you want to call it. And also, I can imagine in the shopping center, the acoustics is also completely different. And with Debussy, where I think you use a lot of pedal.
Yes,
yeah.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
so the sounds and the tones they flow over and make a very big sound compared to when you're at your lesson and everything is a
Yeah,
dry
correct.
acoustic.
Yeah, and that person who sat down to play the song was just somebody walking past and they sat down, but they'll never know the impact that they had just in that 5 minutes on the life of a young girl.
Oh wow, nice moment in time. And by the way, Opera House Sydney, I think everybody knows this extremely beautiful building. What
Yeah.
did you hear there, or what was your first opera there?
I think it would have been Pirates of Penzance, yeah. And of course, you know that you may know that it is a very beautiful building, but actually the acoustics are not that great inside the building. So we also have the City Recital Hall in Australia now, which is, yes, we see some wonderful music there. It's designed much more with acoustics in mind rather than the external aesthetics.
But you say the acoustics for an opera is not good in the opera house?
Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. They've done a lot, but it wasn't really, I guess, designed in such a way as to maximize the acoustic experience internally.
Yeah.
So it can depend a little bit where you sit, and they've done a lot of things in more recent years to make the sound in there quite good. But yeah, it's not probably not one of the best for acoustics in terms of opera houses around the world.
It feels typical that architects more get from the outside to the inside, but when the money is, most of the money is spent, then you don't go any further. Instead of
Yeah.
starting from the inside and then the outside, it's about music, so not all the looks.
We all love the building anyway. It is just iconic of music for musicians in Australia. Yeah.
I saw there Elektra from Richard Strauss.
Ah,
It was like we were on holiday and we thought, hey, we could get tickets, but very cheap tickets, standing tickets.
ah,
And we heard they only have 10. But
mhm.
when the light gets dark, then and someone is not showing up, then people say, yeah, hey, I can sit here. So we had a beautiful
Ah.
space. So that was
Oh,
so,
wonderful.
yeah. So when you're on a trip and doing completely different things, and then you go for an hour or two to the opera, and
Yeah.
that's like completely in a different world. So nice
Yeah.
memories. Will you tell us a little bit more about yourself, what you do for a living, and then we can see how we connect everything?
Yeah. So I'm a senior research fellow at the Marx Institute for Brain Behaviour and Development at Western Sydney University, which is a long description, but what it basically means is I get to do some great research and work with some really clever people in doing that. And so my area of research, because I grew up around music and music had such a big role in my own life, I became really interested in just how does it work? How does it have this power over us? And so, yeah, I fell into doing research about music and its effect on our moods and our emotions and how we can use it for well-being purposes in that way.
Oh, that's beautiful. And let's dive into it. So, what's your focus on your research?
Okay, well, my PhD thesis was about why we listen to sad music, which is, yeah, a little bit of a paradox because most of the time we avoid things that make us feel sad, right? But when it comes to music, we seem to kind of enjoy actually feeling a bit of sadness. So that was something I was interested in. So did a lot of research on that in my PhD, and then in the course of that research, I came across people who were experiencing symptoms of depression, and I became quite intrigued by the fact that they, above all people, were the ones who seemed drawn to sad music the most. And I wasn't sure whether or not it was actually working the same way for them as it did for others. So that became, I guess, the focus of my research after I completed my PhD, and that's now taken me into like two different streams of research. One is about youth mental health and how people with depression and things like that use music, sometimes in useful ways to support their mood and their well-being, and then sometimes it doesn't work quite as well. And so just understanding when it works, when it doesn't work, how can young people use that as a tool to make healthy selections so that they're supporting their moods and their well-being. So that's been one stream of research. And then I was asked to see whether or not that could apply in the dementia care space. And so we ended up spending a number of years just researching how different musical features interact with the symptoms of dementia that a lot of people experience, and how we can draw on that, I guess, to use music a little bit more intentionally in care situations for people with dementia. So that, we're not just thinking of music as entertainment, but really using it strategically to improve their well-being as well. So, yeah, I've had these two really interesting, I guess, streams of research that I've been able to enjoy working on over the last few years.
Interesting. And music as a tool. Use music to, and as a tool for help. But let's dive into a little bit more. So, what is sad music? Is there a definition of sad music?
Oh, there are lots of definitions. In fact, let's start with what is music. This is where you run into your first conundrum, right? What is sad music? When I'm talking about sad music, I'm talking about music that the listener perceives as sad music, because it's so individual. Like a song that you find sad, I might find just really beautiful or peaceful or something like that. So it's very individual, and it changes from day to day as well. I'm sure you've experienced this as well. Like one day this song seems really beautiful and peaceful and calm, and then tomorrow it's really depressing. So it often depends sort of what mood you're in. So really, when I talk about sad music, I mean what the listener perceives as sad at that time.
And is it then the idea, if you have a sad moment, that you listen to sad music to live this moment more fully in whatever this might mean? Or is the idea to use sad music to regulate and say, okay, now I listen to sad music and then I make a decision for myself. After half an hour of sad music, then I switch slightly to happy music, whatever this may be.
Yeah, good question. I think, again, that's really individual and changes from day to day. There's a personality trait called absorption, which is, I guess, how prone an individual is to experiencing a state of flow, where they just, you know how you get really absorbed in something so much that you're not conscious of the passage of space and time. We found in our research that people who have strong tendencies to absorption and can easily enter a state of flow, they seem to be able to listen to sad music and they understand that it's sad and they kind of feel the emotions of sad, but it is just getting involved in the moment and enjoying the whole experience of being alive along, with all the emotions, different emotions that encompasses in the human experience. But then for other people, there might be times where you're actually really worried about something, or there's something on your mind, you're feeling a little bit low. You seek out that kind of music as a way of processing what you're going through, getting some things off your chest, feeling like other people understand you and sort of having your experience validated because the music is making you feel like somebody else has experienced the same thing as you and they know what you're going through. So it's feeling comforted from that, but also giving you some reflection time. It can be a time to kind of just sit in the emotions that you're experiencing and then think about, where is this coming from? What is making me feel this way? What could I do to change this situation? Which is actually a really useful process to go through, a really psychologically healthy process to go through. The problem is that when people experience clinical levels of depression as distinct from, maybe feeling depressed for a short period of time about something that's happening, that can really mess with their thinking patterns. And often, rather than having the capacity to work through the emotions and problem solve, that kind of music can actually sometimes make people get a little bit stuck in just loops of negative thinking. Things are never going to work out for me. I'm never going to meet the right person. I'm going to be lonely all my life. Nobody likes me. I'm no good at anything. Just sitting in the emotions for a long time is not always the right thing for somebody like that, who may be at that level. But then again, that person might be able to find some other song that's also very sad sounding, but then they get some different kind of a message from it that's a little more hopeful, and that does actually help them work through it. So it's really just so individual.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite sad song?
I give you the answer in a second. What resonates with me is that something is sad for some person and might not be sad for me. So I had one thing last week. I heard Mahler Second Symphony. I don't know if you know it. It starts with duck 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 duck. So I love this very much. When I heard this many years ago for the first time, I like it very much. But later I learned that it's funeral music. And the idea is of the funeral, and I think, hey, how can this? I'm positively moved by it, and so I think sometimes, and also being a musicologist and wanting to know everything about music and what the composer wants, sometimes it's also good to say, that's one part, and the other part is my part, my resonating part. What does it do with me? Maybe also sometimes the connection with the moment you were in. You were just describing Debussy in the shopping center. And, if this would have been a sad song, for example, it would be forever in your soundtrack of your life, would have its place. And coming back to the sad music, we have to find out what music helps us to live, or how you just said it, to process. Maybe it's more for me, it might be more processing music. And and now you get the answer. I will have it for with music with John Coltrane, which is for me more than just music. It's there are no lyrics. That often helps, because then you can make your own story out of it. And a song like Naima, which sounds sad, but actually it's also close to a love song in some way. So it's not the love song, the happy one, and I'm in love. It's more like the deep connection, or A Love Supreme, for example, which is the fabulous album by John Coltrane. And maybe that would be, but maybe I wouldn't use the word sad. I maybe would use I like your processing explanation. I would say that's my processing music.
Yeah, okay.
What's yours?
Well, I don't know that I have a favorite. I definitely lean more towards kind of Mozart, the lightness. Even when Mozart writes in a minor key, it feels upbeat, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely lean more towards that. But of course, I love composers like Rachmaninoff as well, who are deeply tragic. But so much of his music, but I can only manage that music in small doses, really.
Yeah.
So it's not the kind of music that I could listen to for really long periods, because it's just so intense, so emotionally intense. So I was thinking as you were talking of a research project that we did where we thought we'd kind of figured out, a little bit about how happy music makes people feel better and sad music makes people feel worse, and depressed people are always listening to sad music. So why don't we just prescribe them with some happy music? So we actually tried this in an experiment. We got a bunch of students and we allocated to one group a happy playlist, and we had all kinds of different things in there, different genres and things, so that they could choose something that they liked. And then we had a group allocated to a sad playlist. And we got them to keep a diary of how they were responding, what they were thinking about while they were listening to the music. And an example that comes to mind is Adele's song, Somewhere Like You, which I'm sure you know. It's a classic breakup song that people always listen to. But one person who did have some symptoms of ongoing depression problems, who listened to that music, and in her diary she wrote about a recent breakup she'd had when she was listening to that song, and about how it was listening to this song was just reinforcing to her that love is a tragic thing and nobody can ever be happy. You can never find true love, etc. And so she didn't feel too good after listening to that song and thinking these thoughts. But another person had been allocated to the sad music playlist as well and was listening to that song as well and had also been through a breakup as well. But her thought patterns were, I've been through a really tough time. This has been really hard, and I'm crying while I'm listening to this song. But I know that I've learned from this experience, and next time when I meet the right person, things are going to go better this time, and I'm just going to take care of myself for now, and I know that the right person will come along in the future. And she actually got some hope out of it and felt better after going through. So same situation, a breakup, same song, good old Adele, but the thought patterns were different. And so the impact on the person, the effect it had on their moods was completely the opposite.
Beautiful. Did you compile the playlist?
Yeah, we came up with a number of songs that had come out of our previous research that people had told us made them either happy or sad. And so we put together kind of a short list of the most frequently selected songs that went into those playlists, yeah.
Was there some kind of dramaturgy in the playlist, like starting with a certain one, and going to the last one? How many were on the playlist, and was there a certain, let's say, a crescendo of feelings, or was it more like a playlist mix?
No, it was more like a selection of songs that we asked them to choose from that they wanted to listen to. This was in the days before we had Spotify, so I wasn't able to, create that kind of a playlist. It was more just that we kind of provided them with a whole lot of MP3 links. They would have been at that time, MP3 files, not even links. MP3 files to listen to. And I think we had probably around 30 minutes of music there in each. But because music is so personal, like we didn't want to give somebody an entire playlist of Adele if they only like classical music. So we had kind of a mixture of genres in there so that people could choose the music that they were a little bit more attracted to and that suited their tastes a little bit more. Because otherwise that could have been a terrible confounding factor. And in fact, this happens in a lot of research, or has in the past. People kind of say, in dementia research especially, oh, classical music is relaxing and we want to help these people with dementia reduce their anxiety and their agitation, so let's play them all classical music. And yeah, I don't know, if you don't like classical music and you're forced to listen to it, it's not going to make you going to make you feel more agitated, right? So
not at all. I was asking on the order of the music pieces on the playlist, because in former times when we still had records and albums, or even let's take Adele, which I don't know too much about it. I assume, but maybe you know, or maybe one of the listeners already knows, I assume that not all songs are sad songs. And when you, as a band or as an artist, you make your record, you want this as a first, this as a second, or if you're even in a concert, you say, what's a good opener in a concert when you get out, and with which song will you end? So there's also a certain order of it, and I think that might be different if we just have a playlist, for example, on Spotify, and we only pick different sad songs, so that we only have the sad songs and we don't go through all the ups and downs, which are happy, sad, or depending on how we experience it. So I think that's something to also keep in mind, or maybe you have research about it. So if people would make an order of, let's say, your 10 songs of the month or of the week. We're getting now into the summer, so maybe some people will already compile their summer playlists and maybe say, okay, when we sit in the car and we drive to our destination, which one would be the first, which one would be the one we're singing, which one would be the one to process and just to look out of the window?
Yeah. That's really interesting. There's a principle that music therapists use when they're working with someone in a real life situation and playing music to them. It's called the ISO principle, and what that means is you start with music that meets the person in the emotional state that they are at, and then you gradually shift the tone of the music to help them achieve their desired state. So, for example, if somebody is agitated and anxious, you might start with quite high energy music to try and tap into that there, but then you might gradually sort of wind it down a little bit to try and make them feel a little bit more calm. And there's some wonderful research coming out of the University of Melbourne at the moment about how people can do the same kind of thing using the Spotify playlist. You can actually kind of self-organize your playlist so that it's not, a whole collection of sad songs, but that maybe it starts with a sad song if that's where how you're feeling, but then it may gradually take you into a better space. So, that's another interesting way to think of it when you're ordering the songs in your playlist.
No, I like that very much. It sounds like work in or with your playlist. So if you're in a certain, if you the breakup was yesterday, you might want to hear the first few songs completely different, and then at the end you want to pep up because you want to do something with other people. And maybe if you're 1 week, 1 month, 1 year, depends on how you feel, then you would change the songs or you make a new playlist. So that's working with your playlist. I like that idea.
Yeah, and I guess from my point of view, that does need to be a really dynamic process. Like what works for you one day may not work the next. But the key thing is the awareness, like really becoming aware of the effect that a particular song is having on you, and not just assuming, I'm feeling a bit sad, so I'm gonna listen to this one that I always listen to when I'm feeling sad. But just really kind of becoming aware: does this help me when I listen to this song? Or if it does, should I follow that up with something different that might move me out of that mood or that space? So we've actually created a free app it's mostly designed for young people. We co-designed this with young people, but it's designed to help the user just to reflect on the effect that the music they're listening to is having on their moods, so that they can just be a little bit more intentional about the way they choose it. And I think when you do that, you can use music a bit more strategically throughout your day. Like, we're always just going to want music to be there just because it's beautiful, but you can also use it strategically to help improve your well-being on a daily basis.
Right. So your app is Moody Tunes. I will also put.
Yeah, it's called Moody Tunes, all one word. Yeah.
We'll put the link in the show notes, the show notes, so that people can experience it. Will you explain how would it work? How would it maybe just some kind of user's instruction?
Yeah, okay. So we're in the early days of development. There's more work to be done to improve this, and we've got a lot of exciting ideas about what we want to do. But for the moment, the main goal is that when you're listening to music on Spotify, just through your daily life, as you normally do, the app will prompt you to record the effects that particular songs are having on your mood in that very moment. Because we've found in our research that sometimes when we look back, and about a song that we might listen to quite often, we're not always as accurate in our understanding of the effect it's had on us as we are if we kind of record right in that moment, like, how am I feeling when I listen to this right now? What is it doing to me right now? So, for example, you might have the habit of kind of pulling out this particular really tragic Rachmaninoff string quartet or something when you're feeling depressed. And you might think, oh, yeah, I need to listen to that because I'm feeling down. But then when you listen to it, and you've kind of got in your mind, this is something that helps. But then when you actually listen to it, sometimes you might find it's not helping. It's actually making you feel worse. Sometimes it might be, that's different for everyone. So it's about the individual discovering the songs that are actually working for them and that aren't. So when they track that, the effect of particular songs on their mood, the app then automatically creates a playlist of songs that have helped them to feel better. And then they've got an automatic, they've got a playlist there that they can pull out at any time of music that they know actually helps to improve their mood. And it's their own music selections, but it's really identified the ones that are having a positive impact on their mood. But it also involves, we've got sort of some activities and exercises embedded there that are based on cognitive behavioral therapy that can help people to dig into the thoughts and the feelings and the memories that are coming up when they're listening to music a little bit more as well, and kind of work out, why is this song making me feel this way? Where is this coming from? What am I thinking about? Which is very similar to the kind of process that often a therapist might work through with someone. So it's kind of like a self-administered therapy using music.
So playlist on prescription.
Yeah, except you get to choose the prescription and the dosage and all of that because, as we found in our research, it didn't actually work prescribing things to people in that way. People need really, it's about empowering people to make their own choices based on their individual needs, which nobody knows better than they do. So, yeah.
It links with what you just said about when you have a playlist and a therapist first tries to match the state that you're in at the moment. So that's maybe, I think that might be the key, also the key for yourself. So just choose what you have at the moment and then try to, if you want, go to in a certain direction. I also was thinking about when we talked about sad music, like listening alone and listening together. For example, all the, let's call it ritual in Easter time when we listen to Bach's Matthäus Passion, so the Passion of Matthew, or at Christmas, Weihnachtsoratorium. So then you sit together and, it will be sad anyway, in some way. And you experience this together with other people that you don't know, but they're looking in the same direction and listen with their ears in the same way as you. And when you get out, not everybody is crying. People are then like relieved. They went through. Is this something that resonates with your research?
So there's this interesting thing called emotional contagion that happens when you're in a group of people, because we are biologically designed to pick up on the very subtle cues that come from, it's like we're in our herd, and the herd, some people on the edge of the herd have picked up the scent of a saber-toothed tiger, and they're a little edgy. Now, we're over here on the other side of the herd. We haven't picked up the scent of the saber-toothed tiger, but we need to pick up on the little behavioral cues from other members of the herd that tell us there's danger. So we do that in an audience when we're sitting there listening to music. Nobody's speaking, nobody's overtly sobbing or anything like that, but we are just picking up those subtle cues from people around us about the emotions that they're experiencing, which then amplifies our own experience. There is another interesting thing about the way the brain works called mirror neurons. The way we experience empathy is that our brain causes us to mimic the behavioral and facial expressions of emotion that someone in front of us is showing. And when we mimic it, we feel it. You know how you can't help but smile when you see somebody smile, or you find that you're frowning in sympathy with somebody who's telling you, a sad story or something. It's that whole movement of our facial muscles in mimicry of what they're feeling that causes us to feel a little bit the same as them. And that's what empathy is. So we get that in an audience situation. We're picking up on those subtle cues, we're unconsciously mimicking them, and then we end up feeling the same. So that's why often that emotional experience within the herd is amplified by the setting. And then, of course, that's a really helpful thing from a biological point of view, right? It's good that we can do that. So when we exercise that ability to experience emotions in a group setting like that, our brain goes, this is a useful thing you've just done. Reward, release dopamine so that they'll do that again. Because this whole exercising of our capacity to understand and reflect emotions with other people is a biologically important thing and has been for our survival in the past.
Beautiful. And I also think about that we're now getting into the summer, or at least where I am, because you are in Sydney, right?
It's
so you're getting into winter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're in winter now,
so that's it. In my brain, in my perspective, I'll be going into the summer and maybe on a holiday, and also summer music and everything, and trying. Maybe you already make playlists for the beach, or even you get into a different country where you hear a song that you don't understand the words, and they do something with you. They connect with your memory. Can we talk a little bit about the dementia part?
Yeah.
Because as far as I understand, it's like we have to make connections to reconnect later. But please explain.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Good point. So the memories that are most deeply embedded in our brains are the ones that are connected with strong emotional experiences. So that's why you probably don't have a very strong memory of brushing your teeth this morning, because it wasn't an emotional experience, maybe. For you. But you probably remember other experiences that have been very emotional. If you step off the curb and you almost get hit by a car and you get an adrenaline rush because of that, you will remember that experience for a lot longer than you will brushing your teeth in the morning, because there was a strong emotional reaction. And music is one of the things that causes the strongest emotional reactions in us, aside from actual real life experiences. So when you hear a piece of music in connection with a particular situation or anything like that, particularly situations that are very strong emotional situations. So, maybe songs you heard at your wedding, or songs that you danced to with your wife when you first met, or anything like that. Those songs are often the kinds of songs that people with dementia will remember long after they have forgotten so many other things. In fact, they may even have forgotten their wife, but they will still experience the emotions that they experienced when they heard it before, when they listen to that piece of song, to that piece of music. And sometimes it can be those things that will, for a moment, make them remember that loved one and, facilitate some moments of connection with the people around them, because it just bypasses some of the damaged parts of the brain and goes right to the emotional core of the brain. Those emotional memories are embedded deep in the central structures of the brain that are less quickly damaged than the more peripheral parts of the brain.
Do I get it right? Would you say have many memorable experiences connected with music because they will last very long?
Yeah, they'll last a long time. Yeah, they'll last a long time, and they can provide a pathway to some of those other meaningful memories when they're connected with music as well.
So music as a cue to reconnect, but there's no healing in it, right? So it's just a link, or this isn't might not be researched enough.
Well, I don't know if we can claim that music is going to regenerate damaged parts of the brain, but the brain has this wonderful capacity for plasticity. So if one part of the brain is damaged and it's difficult to recall, retrieve memories through the usual pathway, you can sometimes create new pathways to that memory or that information in undamaged parts of the brain. So, yeah, I really think the capacity of the brain, we really don't know the full extent of what could be done with music in treating people with dementia. One thing that we are really sure about is that a lot of the emotions that understandably go along with a diagnosis of dementia, feeling depressed, experiencing confusion, which leads to anxiety and agitation, those emotions can actually accelerate cognitive decline. So it can actually cause the cognitive functioning to decline more quickly. So anything that you can do that helps an individual to enjoy their daily life is going to be useful as a preventative in a way, just for helping to slow the process. And who knows, maybe one day we'll discover that it's doing more than that.
Well, that's beautiful. So having many positive, memorable experiences, like staying in the holiday mode. So if you're driving there and you're in the traffic jam, use it as a moment together and play songs that you remember instead of that you're just connected to the traffic jam or any other thing that you can that you can imagine.
Yeah. So if people are in, I don't know, they're on their summer holidays in Europe, they're in Italy or Greece or wherever they like to go, south of France or whatever, and you're there watching a beautiful sunset with your loved one, put some music on if it's not going to spoil the moment, as a way to remember that just deepen your recall of that memory later.
Can we go a step further? Maybe it's not just music. So just imagine I'm seeing at the sunset and I hear birds or natural animals outside. That would also work, right?
Maybe, but I do think there's something different about music because music has structure. It has temporal structure and it has melodic structure. And that gives the brain something to anchor the memories to. Whereas bird sounds or sounds in the environment are a lot more random. And, like I'm sitting here in Australia in the Blue Mountains and I can hear the cockatoos outside very loudly. I'm sure I've heard cockatoos in every emotional moment I've ever had because they're so noisy in the area where I live, but they bring back no good memories for me when I hear them because there's so much a part of the environment. But a piece of music that has that structure, the brain likes temporal structure particularly, and somehow there's something about that organized temporal structure that helps the brain to latch onto that in ways that we don't fully understand. It's very interesting. Also works with people with Parkinson's disease. So they may have trouble regulating their gait, and then you put a piece of music on and suddenly they can walk with a very steady, stable gait. The same with people with speech impediments like a stutter or something like that. Often music can be used as part of the therapy to hinge the speech to that temporal structure and help them to get their speech sort of moving, to get the speech regulated. So there's something about that, the structure of music, actually, not just the emotional content, but the structural way that it works, which, has some interesting effects that I don't think we fully understand either. In fact, our brain waves actually synchronize to beats that we hear. So a lot of wonderful research from my colleague Peter Keller, who was at the Marx Institute for many years, and he's now in Europe. It escapes me where he is. But he's done some wonderful research about how our brain waves actually synchronize to external beats, particularly when we are doing something in response to that beat, like maybe drumming along to it or tapping our foot along to it. Yeah, it has amazing effects we don't fully understand yet.
Beautiful. So is there anything, so we just covered a lot today. Is there anything that you would like to add or to point us to?
Well, if you're caring for somebody with dementia, we have some wonderful free resources which are available for caregivers. It doesn't matter whether they're professional caregivers or family members. So if you go to, I think the website is musicfordementia.com.au, you'll find a whole bunch of resources that can help you to think about how you can incorporate music into your daily practice. We'd love people to have a look at our Moody Tunes app. Tell us what you found useful. Tell us what you think we can do better, because this is a work in progress. We'll keep refining this and making it better. And just, keep on enjoying music. And I love your idea of the podcast, Christoph, and just kind of looking at, how music is part of so many other parts of life, right?
Absolutely. That's music is one part. That's the power of music. And the power of music thinking is learning from the power of music and applying it to other fields and also back. And that makes it one big package. Sandra, thank you very much for your insights. And good luck with the winter.
Yes, thank you. Enjoy your summer holidays.
Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate this, because listening is one of the top leadership skills, and I feel honored about this. It is my mission to find, create, and share inspirations for meaningful collaboration based on music analogies. If you want to support this, please subscribe to the podcast, give us a rating, or write a review on iTunes or Spotify. And more inspirations can be found on musicthinking.com. We have a blog, and you can download the Music Thinking Framework. And finally, I would love to hear your feedback. And if you need help with a business challenge, please reach out to me via email, podcast@musicthinking.com.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.